Let me just say that when we got all this God card support announced last night, I wasn't super surprised. I mean, it was cool, but like I said, not super surprised because we just had all the Sacred Beast cards for the structure deck revealed not too long ago, so it makes sense. I mean, the natural progression is to also have God card support. Not to mention, if you look in my own comment section on any of those videos that I made about the Sacred Beast support, like half the comments are just like, well, where's the God card support? Why aren't the God cards getting support? Stuff like that. But also, this set is based on Merrick, who obviously is known for the Winged Dragon of Ra, and that's what all of this support is. So even though it is sort of Egyptian God card support, it is mostly the Winged Dragon of Ra support, and there's 5 new cards. Now, one thing that I've learned from the Sacred Beast support, not only when I initially reviewed them, but also when I got to playtest with them after they were all revealed, is that it takes a lot to make cards like the Sacred Beast, like the Egyptian God cards, really, really powerful. The Sacred Beast support has some of the best standalone cards and some of the best 2-card combos for a Sacred Beast sort of archetype, but I don't think it's actually enough to be a competitively viable top-tier strategy. That being said, when we look at this support, you'll notice that a lot of it seems worse than the Sacred Beast support, which doesn't bode well for how good the support is actually going to be once it hits the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. Oh, and before we get into the video, I want to shout out Yu-Gi-Oh! News TCG, who is where these images come from. You've probably seen me go on their Twitter page for a few videos. Pretty much all the OCG release videos that I've been doing have been from their Twitter. They just do the best job of actually making these graphics and having this stuff on them, so that's really nice. So shout out to them, they do a great job. Anyway, without further ado, Reactor Slime is a level 4 water aqua monster with 500 attack and 500 defense, and it has 2 different effects, both of which are hard once per turns, but it looks like you are allowed to use both of them in the same turn. The first effect says during your main phase, you can special summon 2 slime tokens, which is obviously what's in the artwork here, that have the exact same stats of this card, except they're level 1 instead of level 4. Also, you cannot normal summon or special summon monsters for the rest of the turn, except Divine Beast monsters. So obviously, this card can be used as a more generic piece of God card support, but you'll see with the other cards, they're pretty much focused on Ra specifically. Secondly, during either player's battle phase, as a quick effect, you can tribute this card, choose 1 Metal Reflect Slime in your hand, deck, or graveyard, and if you do, set it to your spell and trap zone, and if you do that, it can be activated this turn. So this card has some fancy tricks, and by setting the Metal Reflect Slime, it does combo with that fusion monster that was revealed a couple weeks ago, but we're not going to talk about that one in today's video because overall I don't think that fusion monster is very good. This one is fine, I guess. I mean, we actually do have an extra normal summon card that you'll see in a second, but I'm not sure if this card's actually that much better than Ra's Disciple. I mean, maybe you play both of them in the same deck. You probably will if you're crazy enough to try a Ra deck, but I don't think this card in particular is like one of the more outstanding cards from these 5 that we're going to look at. Guardian Slime is a level 10 water aqua monster with 0 attack and 0 defense, and it has 3 different effects. The first effect says when you take battle damage or effect damage, you can special summon this card from your hand. Okay, not too hard to trigger there. Secondly, if this card battles an opponent's monster during damage calculation, you can activate this effect. During this damage calculation only, this card gains defense equal to that opponent's monster's attack. Okay, I guess. I mean, not fantastic. The third effect, and the main reason you want to play this card if you're trying to play a Ra deck, is if this card is sent from a hand or field to the graveyard, you can add 1 spell or trap that specifically lists the Winged Dragon of Ra in its text from your deck to your hand. Now, some of you might be saying, well, what spells and traps specifically list the Winged Dragon of Ra? But all 3 of the next cards we're going to look at are in that category, which means that this can search them out. This card is interesting. I do want to say here, it's probably going to confuse some people, not everyone, but I want to say that the first effect does not trigger off of Ra paying life points. Paying life points is not the same as taking effect damage, so let's just clear that up as soon as possible. I'm sure I'll see a couple comments about it, but yeah, this card's like okay. I mean, it searches what you want it to. It's a little bit slow, and you can see here as we go along, the monster cards are really not the highlight of what makes the Ra support interesting, at least not to me. These cards just help you get Ra to the board in certain ways, some better than others. I think the Tribute one is actually a lot better than Guardian Slime, but this card probably will still be played just because of that third effect searching out some of the better cards in a Ra strategy. The card that everyone seems to be focusing on for the discussions, which I guess I'm going to do as well, it seems to be Ancient Chant, for a good reason. I mean, it's definitely the most powerful of all 5 of these cards. It has 2 different effects. The first effect lets you add 1 Ra from your deck or graveyard to your hand, and if you do, you can tribute summon 1 monster during your main phase this turn in addition to your normal summon or set. You can only gain this effect once per turn. The second effect is where it gets really interesting though, because you can banish it from the graveyard, and then this turn when you tribute summon a Winged Dragon of Ra, it gains the attack of what you tributed for it, and that's kind of cool. So if you tribute the Slime card that we just looked at a couple cards ago, it's going to have less than 2,000 attack. If you tribute Ra's Disciple, all three of them, you'll have 3,300 attack, which is a little bit more respectable, but in general, I feel the main focus of Ancient Chant, not only is that it can be searched with the card we just looked at, but also that the extra normal summon is big. If you remember a long time ago, I tried to make a God card deck just for fun, and I had to put in copies of Brilliant Fusion for Seraphonite, as well as double summon, just to try to get the God cards on the field. It's not too difficult, especially in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Even without using like pendulums or anything along those lines. It's not too difficult to actually put 3 monsters on the field. The difficult part is doing that and having a God card in your hand and having an extra normal summon to get it on the board. So with Ancient Chant, I mean, naturally you're going to play it. It searches out Ra. I mean, unfortunately it doesn't search out every God card, but it does search out Ra, and then you can immediately summon it because you get that extra normal summon, which is really valuable. This card will probably be a staple 3 of for any Egyptian God card deck, well, specifically anyone that's playing Ra, but I'm not sure if it's actually super overpowered. But you can see here that Konami is trying to give it back some of its anime effects. I know some like ex-Yu-Gi-Oh players and more casual players think that some version of Ra in the past or even in the present has that effect already, but it sadly does not. Speaking of trying to retroactively make Winged Dragon of Ra better, let's take a look at Millennium Revelation. This is a continuous spell that has 2 effects. The first effect is really interesting, by the way. It says you can send 1 divine beast monster from your hand to the graveyard, add 1 monster born from your deck or graveyard to your hand. Kind of interesting before you read the second effect here, because you might be thinking, well, Ra can't be special summon unless you ignore its summoning condition. Well, coincidentally, the second ability does just that. You can send this face-up card from your spell and trap card zone to the graveyard for the rest of this turn. You can special summon the Winged Dragon of Ra from your graveyard with your monster born effect, ignoring the summoning conditions, which is the key part there. But during this turn's end phase, you must send to the graveyard all Winged Dragon of Ra's that were special summoned by the effect of Monster Reborn. Basically, this is adding the Obelisk and Slifer special summon drawback to the Winged Dragon of Ra. Now you might be asking yourself, what are you going to do with a 0 attack Winged Dragon of Ra? And that's a good question, because yeah, it's not very good. You might as well just play a Dark Hole or Regeki, because this is a -1. You have to lose this card, so you'll start with this card and a Ra, and you'll end with just a Ra on the field, which is fine, but yeah, it has 0 attack. Now luckily Konami has thought about this, and they thought about it in an interesting way, but I'm still not sure that this like 3-card combo that you have is actually worth it, because it's still just summoning a Ra with no protection. The card we're talking about here is 1 with the Sun God, which is a trap card, which is the downside, but you are allowed to use this card the turn you set it if you control the Winged Dragon of Ra. You're not allowed to use both of these effects in the same chain, but you are allowed to use them in the same turn, which is pretty cool. The first effect says during either player's main phase, you can pay life points, so you only have 100 left. Choose 1 special summon the Winged Dragon of Ra you control, which was probably summoned off of that card we just talked about, and if you do, it gains attack and offense equal to the amount of life points paid. The second effect says once per turn, you contribute 1 Winged Dragon of Ra you control, gain life points equal to the attack it had on the field. So what's the idea with this? Well, you use the continuous spell card to special summon a Ra, and then you use 1 with the Sun God to make it go up to 7,900 attack points, probably, and then during the end phase, when it would be destroyed or whatever, when it would be sent to the graveyard again, you can just tribute it and gain all the life points back. That's really bad. I mean, I don't mean to be harsh on this, but it's not a good combo. I mean, it makes Ra a lot more viable, which isn't saying that much because it wasn't a very good card to begin with, but man, that is so much of an investment, and there's nowhere that you can protect yourself from disruption. Yeah, you can have a Mound of the Bounty Creator, but once again, now you're adding another card to your combo. You have to have the continuous spell, you have to have 1 with the Sun God, you have to have the Ra, and now you also have to have the Mound of the Bounty Creator. That's a crazy 4-card combo that still might not work against some decks. It's just not very competitively viable. I don't know. I know people don't want to hear that. I know people are sick of me saying that about cards like this, but especially coming off of the Sacred Beast support, I'm just really underwhelmed by these cards. Maybe if the Sacred Beast support was released like months after this support, or at least revealed months after this support, I would say that this support wasn't so terrible, but man, comparing it to the Sacred Beast support is just really rough, because that support actually did try to not only give you a repurposed for the old Sacred Beast cards and contextualized them a little bit more in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, but also just made it like a viable, fun rogue strategy. This stuff, though, I'm not super impressed with. I really do not think this will make Ra really any that much more viable, which sounds weird, but it's kind of like the Chaos Max thing where it might get better over the years, but it's still not playable competitively. So does it really matter if the deck goes from not playable competitively to not playable competitively? Do you see what I'm kind of saying there? I notice some people it'll make a difference, and I notice some people that like the Winged Dragon of Ra, they'll probably play the support. I'm sure I'll play it on stream a few times just for fun, but I don't think this is it. I don't think this is the support that's going to make the Winged Dragon of Ra really good. Hopefully, if they give Obelisk and Slifer support, they'll actually make it halfway decent. This stuff just all seems very, very gimmicky, and a lot of like 2, 3, 4 card combos that basically do a lot less than almost any competent rogue strategy can do with the same amount of cards. Anyway, though, hope you guys enjoyed today's discussion video, and I know that support is cool conceptually, and I hope I didn't make anyone too sad or too mad by saying it's not very good, but I don't want to BS you guys here and say this stuff is gonna break the game, because compared to Sacred Beast support, this stuff is just not very good. I'll see you guys later, though. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Goodbye.